Hello everybody, welcome back to another Casual Commander. Today is a special day as well. It's been coming for a little bit as I had to put some work into it, and she's certainly happy about that. But here we have our Tifa deck, right? Yeah. We got ourselves the nice Surge foil, which is cool. And this is the non-commander one. This is the landfall one. Which should have been in the commander deck. The whole Final Fantasy deck should have been landfall. It makes more sense for the theme of the game, but I digress. Um, she is a 1 mana and a green, so this is a mono green deck. And she has trample, meaning when she does damage to a creature, any power that is greater than the creature's she's attacking's defense, and that will carry over and hit the player. And then has landfall whenever a land I control enters. Double Tifa Lockhart's power until the end of turn, and she's a 1/2. So we're going to be building around her, but not particularly just her, because when you get a commander that's a lightning rod, like her, when she comes out, everyone tries to kill her as quickly as possible. We also have some other fun stuff in the deck to help balance it out, and I know she's going to be happy regardless, because it just, yeah, okay, it's fine. I'm complimenting you. What do you want from me? All right. Anyway, I was able to snag the Grimoire secret lair for Final Fantasy. The rest were sold out immediately. So I was lucky enough to get the one, and that one happened to include Aerith's Kiraga Magic, one in a green, also happens to be Heroic Intervention. Basically, permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. That's super cool. That happened to be the first one step in here. Forest. You're going to be seeing a lot of those. Whisper Silk Cloak, 3 mana. It's an equipment. An equipped creature is unblockable and can't be the target of spells or abilities. So, anything that I try and target her with, or anything anybody else tries and target her with, can't be targeted, also known as Shroud. Equip cost 2. The key part of that is the unblockable, because we want to be able to get her in and kill people. That's the whole point. Crocian Grip, 2 and a green, has split second, meaning as long as the spell is on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. And you destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Windswept Heath, it's a land. You tap it, you pay 1, you sacrifice it, and then you look for a forest or a plains. Put it onto the battlefield and then shuffle. Avenger of Zendikar, 5 and 2 green. When it enters, create 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control. So if you have a bunch of lands, you create a bunch of plants. And then whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a +1/+1 counter on each plant creature you control. And it's a 5/5. Reliquary Tower. You have no max hand size and taps for a colorless. March of the World Ooze. 3 and 3 green. It's an enchantment. Creatures you control have base power and toughness 6/6 and are oozes in addition to their other types. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if it's not their turn, you create a 3/3 green elephant creature token. That's a great one for her because that makes her from a 1/2 to a 6/6, and then you double that on the first land, you're already at a 12 instead of a 2. It's beautiful. Another forest. We brought in Old Gnawbone because we need some flyers, and it also creates treasures. It's a 5 mana and 2 green. Flying, 7/7. When a creature, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many treasure tokens. So if I deal 7 damage, I make 7 tokens. It's a very good card. Triumph of the Hordes, 2 and 2 green. This is a sorcery. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample and infect. So infect is a way to end the game a lot quicker. You only need to hit a player with infect 10 times. They get a -1 counter on any creatures, and then the players get poison counters. This is in here particularly as a game ender, right? You need to have, if you got a really strong person, you got the unblockable, you can send in a 10 power creature to end them. That's a good way to go around it. I don't have too many of these game enders or win cons in most of my decks. Just that one turn, haha, I gotcha. But in this one, it makes sense because that's kind of what her whole point is to get big and punch people. So I figured having something like that in there is not terribly uh, against the grain of casual. Because depending upon how you play it, you may only be able to kill one person, maybe two, and usually that will be a couple turns in, so it's not terribly bad. We got Mithril Coat, 3 mana. It has Flash and Indestructible. When it enters, attach it to target legendary creature you control, like Tifa. Equip creature has Indestructible, and its equip cost 3. Temple of the False God, tap it for 2 colorless, but only if you control 5 or more lands, which will be easy in this deck. Forest. Sire of the Seven Deaths, 7 mana. It's a 7/7, and it has 7 abilities. First Strike, Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Lifelink, and Ward, in which you need to pay 7 life to target it. I have this one in here a little bit for the theme. She is from Final Fantasy VII, and having a creature that's all about 7s kind of fits, so that's not bad. And it's a bomb. It's a great creature to have in there. Commander's Plate, 1 mana. It's an equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+3, and it's protection from each color that is not in its identity. So she's a green, so that means she has protection from every other color. Red, blue, white, and black. Equipped commander for 3 cost, or equip any other creature for 5 cost. Fog, 1 green. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. So say, for example, someone swings at you with the Triumph of the Horde with all that poison damage. You just be like, oh, no, prevent all that damage. I don't get poisoned. I live. I survive. Cultivate, 2 and a green. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards. Put 1 onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, and then shuffle. So for Misty Rainforest, which is this one, and also the previous one, the Windswept Heath, these fetch lands give you 2 landfall triggers. So for example, I play Misty Rainforest. That's 1 trigger, she doubles to 2. I then pay the life, sack it, go look for another forest or island, put it onto battlefield. When I put that onto battlefield, now she's a 4. So you get 2 triggers for the price of 1. It's pretty good. Here's another bomb, but I also have this in the deck because a couple of reasons. 1, it's a big, tough creature. 2, it gives you card draw. 3, whenever this is put into a graveyard from anywhere, you shuffle your graveyard into your library. So if you're playing against a mill deck that likes milling cards, when it gets milled, it will take everything that got milled and put it back into the library, which is awesome because it prevents you from being milled out. And then the other ability is Annihilator 4. Whenever it attacks, the defending player sacrifices 4 permanents. This is another bomb because it's a big honking creature. Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, costs 10 mana to cast. That's a lot. But it's good for what it is and helps get the point across. Ancient Green Warden, 4 mana and 2 green. It has reach. You may play lands from your graveyard, because that might happen. Like you may be able to replay some of your fetch lands as well. And then if a land entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. And it's a 5/7. So her landfall ability is a triggered ability. So if I play 1 land, I'll double it. So she goes to 2, and then it activates the ability again, so she goes to 4 from 1 trigger. So if you have the Misty Rainforest, that's 1 trigger to 2 to 4, and then you go search for another one that becomes 8 and then 16. So in 1 turn with her out, you can make her a 16/2. It's really great. Basic Forest. This is another one I also just added. Power Fist, 1 and a green. It's an equipment that equipped creature has trample. She already has trample. But whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. Equip cost 2. So if we get her up to an 8 and there's a 3 blocker, 5 damage will carry through. We deal that 5 damage. We put 5 counters on her. She's now a 6/7. So that's a great one for her. Defense of the Heart, 3 and a green. It's an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent controls 3 or more creatures, you sacrifice this. You search your library for 2 creature cards, and then put those onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. This is a great way to cheat out some of those big guys. You could search for the Kozilek to put that out, but you don't get the cast trigger for the 4 cards that you draw. But otherwise, it's still a 12/12 creature on board. Summoning Materia, 2 and a green. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. As long as this is attached to a creature, you can cast creature spells from the top of your library. And then the equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has vigilance, and you can tap it for a green mana, equip cost 2. Season of the Gathering, 4 and 2 green. It's a sorcery that you choose up to 5 paws worth of modes. You may choose the same mode more than once. 1 paw to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. It gains vigilance and trample until end of turn. 2 paws to choose an artifact or enchantment. Destroy all permanents of the chosen type. So if you choose artifact, destroy all artifacts. Or 3 paws, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. So if you had a couple land triggers, getting her up to 8, you play the 3, you get to draw 8 cards, and then you can either do the 2 paw or 2 1 paws. So it's a total of 5, and you can combine those. You could do 5 1s, put 5 counters on something. The Dolmen Gate, this is great. 2 mana. It's an artifact. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. So because she has a 2 toughness, she's very easy to kill. But if you get the Dolmen Gate out, you prevent all damage being done to her. So it's almost like she's indestructible for that. And just swing out and bash people. We got a forest. We got another forest. Saz's Chocobo, 1 green. It also has the landfall ability. So whenever a land you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. It's a 0/1. We have a lot of triggers. We got some doublers. We can make it a big chunkin' boy. Summon Bahamut, 9 mana. First phase, destroy up to 1 target non-land creature, non-land permanent. Also the second phase. Third phase, you draw 2 cards. And then the fourth phase, this creature deals damage equal to the total mana value of other permanents you control to each opponent. It is a flying creature with 9/9. I put this in here because I needed at least 1 summon, and Bahamut seemed like a really good one because it was colorless. And it destroys stuff, it draws you cards, and then it deals damage. So if you got a couple of these, you got the Ancient Green Warden, Season of Gathering, that's 12 already, so you do 12 damage to each opponent. Like, that's fantastic. Vorinclex, 3 and 2 green. Has Trample and Reach. This is the main reason why we got it, is when it enters the battlefield, you search your library for 2 forest cards, reveal them, put them to your hand, and then shuffle. It's a 6/6 creature. Now, you can pay 6 and 2 green to exile it and return it to the battlefield. For this effect, we don't use it as much for that one, but you mill 10 cards, and then you put 2 creature cards from the milled cards onto the battlefield. Some free creatures. You can pay, the next phase is distribute 7 +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. So good way to buff them. And then phase 3 until end of turn, creatures you control have pay 1 mana, and this creature fights a creature you don't control. You then exile this and return it to the battlefield face up. So the back does have some really good stuff. I mostly got it as a Trample Reach 6/6 that searches for lands. Like, that's the best thing that you got out there for a 5 mana cost. The other stuff, that's just extra if you got the means. Soul Ring, 1 mana, taps for 2 colorless. Forest. Kodama's Reach, 2 and a green. Basically the same thing as Cultivate. Search for 2 basic lands, put 1 on the field and 1 in your hand. Forest. Sandworm Convergence, 6 mana and 2 green. It's an enchantment. Creatures with flying can't attack you, or planeswalkers you control. There's no planeswalkers in this, but there's not a lot of reach creatures that we have, or not a lot of flying creatures. So putting this in here will prevent flyers from getting through, which is a huge stopgap for that evasion. And then at the beginning of your turn, at the beginning of your end step, you create a 5/5 green worm creature token. So then it also grants you some big sandworms. Another forest. Seedborn Muse, 3 and 2 green. Untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. It's a 2/4 creature. This one's good should you want to attack and then untap all your creatures so you have defenders again, or if you have some instance that you can use to play during other people's turns to help keep you alive. That's what most of these things are. It's a great one to have. Solemn Simulacrum, 4 mana. When it enters, search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped, shuffle, and then when it dies, you draw a card. It's a 2/2. We got another forest. We have another forest. We got a Shadow Spear, 1 mana. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, has trample and lifelink. Trample, not so much. We got a couple tramplers here, but the lifelink, life gain's awesome. Then you can also pay 1, and then permanents your opponent's control, lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So it's a 2 cost. So for example, someone's going to do a board wipe, and they're like, well, I cast Heroic Intervention, and then I destroy everything. You're like, well, no, I'm going to pay that, and then you lose everything as well. It is fun. Prismatic Vista. It's a land, tap and pay a life, sacrifice it, search for a basic land, put it on the battlefield. Gilded Lotus, 5 mana. Taps for 3 mana of any one color, green. Forest. Sylvan Anthem, 2 green. Green creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever a green creature you control enters, you scry 1. Since we don't have too much else going on, getting the scry to help see what we got figuring out stuff is a good spiel. Especially if you combine it with the summoning materia, which allows you to look at the top. If it's something that you don't want or need, when you cast something, you can scry it to the bottom, look at the top, see what you got. Good way to work around that. We have another forest. Chocobo Kick, 1 and a green. It has a kicker effect, meaning you return a land you control to its hand, and you pay this in addition to its cost. You don't have to. But the target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. So it's a free possible removal spell. And then if it was kicked, the creature you control deals twice that much damage. So if you got a smaller creature that needs to kill a bigger creature, the double might help. Or if you have something that could equal it, like you have 2 power, it has 4 toughness, you double it to 4 and you can kill it. Cultivator Colossus, 4 mana and 3 green. It has trample. It's a plant, so it'll work with Avengers of Zendikar. And then its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. And when this creature enters, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. If you do, draw a card and repeat this process. So I can put a land, draw. If I do that, I can do it again. So you can get multiple land triggers and make it bigger and bigger. We got another forest. Izuri's Predation, 5 mana and 3 green. For each creature your opponents control, you create a 4/4 green Phyrexian Beast creature token. Each of those tokens fights a different one of those creatures. So you create a token for each creature that they have, they all fight, and then at the end of turn, if they live or die, or they'll have, or at the end of that fight, they may be hurt. So if a creature has 6 toughness, you deal 4 damage to it, and you then attack with something, they might be less likely to block, knowing that their creature will now die. It also is a good board wipe for smaller creatures. Reshape the Earth, 6 mana and 3 green. You search your library for up to 10 land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. Ride the Shoepuff, 1 and a green. It has the landfall ability as well. When a land enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then you can pay 5 and 2 green, and this enchantment becomes a 7/7 beast in addition to its other types. We've got the Basilisk Collar, 1 mana. Equipped creature has Death Touch and Lifelink. Another good thing for her. And equip cost 2. Zopandrel, Hunger Dominus. 5 mana and 2 greens. It has reach, and then at the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. That's another fantastic way to stack up with her. You also have Phyrexian green, meaning you can pay either for each Phyrexian pip, you can either pay with a green or 2 life. So I can pay 2 green mana or 4 life, or a green and 2 life, any combination of. It's a 4/6, and then you can sacrifice 2 creatures with paying that cost to put an indestructible counter on Zopandrel. So with some of the plants that you have, you're like, oh, I'm going to stack 2 of those plants to make this indestructible. Blade of Selves, 2 mana. It's an equipment that has equipped creature has Myriad. Basically, whenever that equipped creature attacks, let's say I attack the one opponent across from me, when I attack, it'll create 2 more copies of the creature attacking the opponents to my right. They are tapped and attacking, and then at the end of combat, you exile those 2 copy tokens, and you still keep your creature. It's a 4 equip cost. That's a great one for her, because you power her up, and then you swing out with a bunch of 10-2 tramplers. Like it's a good one for her. We got the Great Henge, 7 and 2 green. It's a legendary artifact. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So if you have a 7-powered creature, you don't pay that 7 mana, it's just 2 green. Put it on out there. You can tap it, and it adds 2 green mana, and you gain 2 life. And then, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and draw a card. Another forest. Another forest. Wooded Foothills, another tap, pay life, sacrifice, look for a mountain or forest, put onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx. It's a legendary land, taps for a colorless, or you can pay 2 and tap it to choose a color, green, and then you add an amount of that color equal to the devotion to that color. So we've got a lot of multiple pipped green things here, so you're going to have a lot of green mana to cast a lot of big stuff. Speaking of big stuff, Craterhoof Behemoth. It's got 5 mana and 3 green. It has haste, and when it enters, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So if you had the Vendikar, and then you have this, you create, 10 plants. Then you have the Avenger, the 10 plants, and that's 12 creatures. Everything now gets +12/+12 trample, and then you swing out for a bunch of crap. That's a good bomb/game ender as well. Augur of Autumn, 1 and 2 green. You can look at the top card of your library at any time and play lands from the top of your library. So with this and with Summoning Materia, you can now play lands and creatures from the top of your library, which is fantastic. And then as long as you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you can cast creatures from the top of your library as well, and it's 2/3. So you got some multiple options. If you don't have that one out, but you got that one out, or if you don't have that one, you got that one. Diamond Weapon, 7 mana and 2 green. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each permanent card in your graveyard. So, similar to the Great Henge, if it's got some stuff that'll help reduce the cost, you only have to pay 2 mana to bring it out. It's got reach, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to Diamond Weapon, and it's an 8/8. This is included because it's a big one. You could potentially cast it for a lot cheaper, and it's actually part of her game, so you need that in there. Command Beacon taps for a colorless, or you can tap and sacrifice it to put your commander into your hand from the command zone. I'm feeling because she's going to be targeted a lot and people want to kill her a lot, her cost is going to go up a lot. So right now she's 2, and then the second cast is 4, then 6, then 8, then 10. If you don't have the mana for it, but you got this, that's a good way to cheat it to your hand to cast it again for the base cost of 2. Got another forest. Tifa's Limit Break, 1 green. You can pick one of these costs by paying additional mana. So you can pay 0, and target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. You can pay an additional 2, and double the target creature's power and toughness until end of turn. Or you can pay 6 and a green, plus the initial green. So 6 and 2 green total. And triple the creature's power and toughness until end of turn. We got Kodama of the East Tree, 4 and 2 green. It has reach. And then whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, if it wasn't put onto the battlefield with this ability, meaning you have this out here, you cast something, use this creature's ability, that will only trigger that time. You have to cast or do something outside of this in order for this to trigger again. But basically, you may put a permanent card with lesser or equal or lesser mana value from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is a good way to cheat stuff out. So I play that one, and then I play, let's say, Diamond Weapon. Its mana cost is 9, so I can put something with 9 or less from my hand onto the battlefield for free. And it's a 6/6 creature. Speaking of more stuff, we got Sword of the Animus with Aerith art on it. She has 2 mana. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, and whenever equipped creature attacks, you search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Equip cost 2. It's a great one for a landfall deck. Maze of Ith, you tap it and untap a target attacking creature. You prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to and dealt by that creature this turn. This is a great stopgap to keep you alive. Should someone swing with a big creature at you, you can go, nope, untap it, remove it from combat. It does nothing. We got a Verdant Catacombs, another tap, pay a life, sacrifice it, look for swamp or forest. We're only going to be ever looking for for forests. I was looking at swamp when I said that. We got another forest. Caged Sun, 6 mana. As it enters, choose a color. We choose green. And then creatures you control of the chosen color get +1/+1. And then whenever a land's ability causes you to add 1 or more mana of the chosen color, you add an additional mana. So this forest taps for green. With this out, it now taps for 2 greens. It's awesome. Apex Devastator, another bomb. 8 mana and 2 green. Cascade, 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 and it's a 10 cost. A 10/10 power and toughness. So it is a 10 cost, yeah. So the Cascade means you cast this. You have to cast it. You can't put it out from like Defense of the Heart for free or Kodama. You have to actually cast it to get the effect. But when you do, you will 4 times reveal cards from the top of your deck until you revealed something with equal mana value or less, and you get to put that onto the field for free. Or Cascade, I can't remember. I think it's non-land, so it could even be spells, if I remember correctly. Double check that. Then we also got the Earth Crystal, 2 and 2 green. Green spells you cast cost 1 less. And then if 1 or more counters would be put on a creature you control, twice that many 1/1 counters are put instead. And then you could pay 4 and 2 green to tap and distribute 2 counters among 1 or 2 target creatures you control. So a good way to help buff some stuff. Mossborn Hydra, 2 and a green. It has trample, and this enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. It's a 0/0. But then whenever a land you control enters, you double the number of counters on that creature. So you'll double the counters and then add 1 more, or add twice that many. So you basically be quadrupling whatever you end up putting on if you have both of those out, which is really scary. We got Scale Up. It's 1 green. Until end of turn, target creature you control becomes a green worm with base power and toughness 6/4. It has an overload cost for 4 and 2 greens, basically meaning you can change its text from target to each. So instead of target creature you control, each creature you control becomes a 6/4 worm. And that's a good way to help buff her up, even at the beginning stages. Bear Umbra, 2 mana and 2 green. It's an aura, so you enchant the creature. And that creature gets +2/+2 and has whenever this creature attacks, you untap all the lands you control. And then it also has Totem Armor, meaning if this creature you attach it to takes any damage, you destroy this first, and then that's still fine. And then if it takes damage again, then the creature will actually take that damage. So it's a good way to help kind of give like a little buffer, some armor, more or less. Leyline Axe, 4 mana. This one's great because if this card is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. So this is a great one to have out there for her because it's a 4 mana cost that starts out for free. The equipped creature gets +1/+1, has double strike and trample, and then equip costs 3. So turn 1, you may have nothing or a Basilisk Collar. Turn 2, you cast her. Turn 3, you equip it, and now all of a sudden you're being very scary. Boseiju, Who Endures. It's a legendary land that taps for a green. Or while it's in your hand, you could pay 1 and a green to discard it. You destroy target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land an opponent controls. Then that player looks for a land card with a basic land type, puts it on the battlefield and shuffles, and this ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature. It's a 2 cost, so having 1 less, it's not a hard thing to achieve. It's a shame that most of these are pretty good except for the blue one. Blue one's not as great. We got a forest. Rona's Monument, 3 mana. Green creatures you cast cost 1 less to cast. And then whenever you cast a creature spell, target creature you control gets +2/+2 and trample until the end of turn. Monster Manual, 3 and a green. You can either do its Sorcery Adventure, where you pay 2 and a green. You mill 5 cards, then return a creature card milled this way to your hand. That's not really what we're here for. We're here for more the artifact side, which is pay 1 and a green, and you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. So there's a good way to cheat around some of the more expensive stuff. Arachnogenesis, 2 and a green. You create X 1/2 green spider creature tokens with reach, where X is the number of creatures attacking you. So if a bunch of creatures are attacking you, you're going to make a bunch of spiders. If one creature is attacking you, you only get 1 spider. But It prevents all combat damage that would be dealt this turn by non-spider creatures, so it's a way to help keep you alive. Forest. Swiftfoot Boots, 2 mana. Equip creature has hexproof and haste. Equip cost 1. We got another forest. Let's see here. We got another forest. We got a Sakura Tribe Elder, a 1 and a green. And you can sacrifice it, or otherwise known as Steve for some of the people out there. You then search your library for a basic land card, put that onto the battlefield tapped, and then you shuffle. It's 1/1. So it's an easy way to get a creature as a blocker, and then sack it to get an extra land to double any land triggers you have. Forest. Dragon Sniper, 1 mana. Vigilance, Reach, and Death Touch. It's a 1/1. Simple, cheap creature, but it has a lot of good effects, especially if you can buff it up, then it becomes a scary threat. Nissa's Pilgrimage, 2 and a green. Search your library for up to 2 basic forests, reveal them, put 1 onto the battlefield tapped, the rest into your hand, then shuffle your library. If there are 2 or more instant and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, search your library for up to 3 basic forests instead of 2. That's a good way to get out some more thing if you're behind on some cards. We got another forest. Chocobo Racetrack, 3 and 2 green. It has the landfall effect. Whenever land you control enters, create a 2/2 green bird creature token with. Whenever a land you control enters, this token gets +1/+0 until end of turn. This one's in here to help create some tokens to go wide. Helps out with blockers and everything else you might need. Then we got Myriad Landscape. Oop. Enters tapped. You tap it for a colorless, or you can pay 2 and tap it to sack it. Then you search for 2 basic land cards that share a land type, so forests. And then you put them onto the battlefield tapped and then shuffle. This is a great way to get 2 triggers. And then just a regular forest. So yeah, there you go. I got a lot of stuff in here. It's probably similar to a lot of other mono green stuff out there, especially mono green landfalls. It's not terribly different from what I've seen out there for a bunch of the green stuff, but it's more central around her. And you get her out in the swing. So this one's probably the first, I guess, quote unquote, Voltron, but it's not really a Voltron. Light Pause is more a Voltron where you have that creature and then everything goes onto it. Yes, this is the primary focus, but because it's a lightning rod, a lot of people are going to go after it. I have other big monsters out here to help make up the difference for that. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. I played it a couple times, and it has done really well. It always comes out big, always comes out swinging. People have removed her, and I have had other things to make up for it, but it does keep you engaged in the game. You don't fall behind because you lose your commander. There's other things that you can do with it. So it is a good deck. It has been fun to play with so far. And she's certainly enjoyed kicking up people's butts with it. But yeah, hope you like it. I've liked it. I've enjoyed it. It's hard for me because green is not my main color. White's my main color. But I have had, white, green, and blue as a secondary, and I usually will splash green in there if I have a deck that has a harder time getting lands. So the Cultivate and Kodama's Reach, the land search, green is the best for that. So yeah, I hope you like it. Feel free to tweak it as you see fit, but this is more so for the casual stuff. You get her out, you have her do a little bit of damage in the beginning. She can get big fast if you get the right sequencing of cards, but it does pace well with other decks. I played this with the other Final Fantasy precons, and it worked well. So it is probably a good moderate power level from what I am able to determine. I need to play it more to see if it can get any stronger, but so far it seems pretty good. Anyway, I hope you guys had a good time. Hope you like it, and we'll catch you later. Peace.